Hello everyone! So my name is Nisha, and among other things I am a board certified counselor and a self-certified crazy cat lady. I have a grand total of 10 cats. Yep, it's a lot. Now, often when I tell people that, they understandably have many questions like, wow, how did that happen? Or how do you manage so many cats? Or do you have some deep-seated attachment issues that causes you to seek out the company of animals that depend on you rather than spend your time with people? Well, that last question is not very often said out loud, kindly enough, except by some of my mental health friends/colleagues who have been tasked with keeping me in check. Now, the purpose of this channel is to talk about the backstories, adventures, and horrors, and many lovely things about having and owning and living with many cats. I've collected about 40,000 photos and thousands of videos, so I'd like to share those as well, and I'm afraid I'm gonna be like one of those parents who insist you look at all 700 photos of their children. After all, like many others, I would 100% not be here today if not for my cats. And I think after all that they've done for me, it's only right that I gush about them and I force you to gush about them as well. Unfortunately for you. So first, let me try and break it down for you. So out of the 10 cats, 7 are Malaysians, 1 is Hungarian, and 2 are Tunisians. Oof, when did I turn into Angelina Jolie? Well, the Tunisians and Hungarians we'll talk about another day. I'd like to begin our journey with talking about 5 out of the 7 Malaysian cats that I have. Basically, it was a buy 1 free 4 deal. There was a mummy cat and she had 4 kittens. So this whole story started late 2014. I had just come back to Malaysia after my UK-Tunisia stint for work and studies, and I was temporarily living with my parents, and I was working and going to uni at the same time. Crazy, I know. So my home had always been a bit of a zoo. We had lots of animals around us growing up. So we always had cats and dogs and fishes and birds. And once in a while, some wild animals would be wandering into our homes, into our gardens and helping themselves to the fishes. For example, monitor lizards and snakes and things like that. But it was okay. It was like living in a National Geographic documentary or something. So going back to Mummy Cat, so after a while I noticed a pregnant tortoiseshell cat waltzing in and out of our house, of our compound, and my dad was kind of feeding her where the dogs would not go. So the dogs were generally okay with our house cats, but for some reason, unfortunately, they would get aggressive with street cats. So the pregnant mother cat, who I named Mammy Cat because I'm a creative genius, and her partner started living in our compound after a while. Her partner was a quiet, mysterious, gentle tuxedo cat named Sylvester. And like most cat and many human partnerships, Mammy Cat and Sylvester seem to have it's complicated/open relationship thing going. So I guess that came to an abrupt end when Sylvester caught feelings and Mammy Cat caught, well, babies. She got pregnant, basically. So anyway, as Mammy Cat got more and more pregnant, we noticed that Sylvester started pulling away a little bit. So he was getting quieter and more distant, and I thought they were going through a separation, or maybe he was giving Mammy Cat a little bit of space to be pregnant and do pregnant cat stuff. But ever so often, they would get into my room. Now, my room was on the 2nd floor of our house, and it had a little window, and outside of the window there was an awning, so they could kind of jump onto the awning and jump into my room through the window and kind of just hang around in my room. So one day I came in and I found both of them having a very solemn looking talk. They were both very serious. There was a huge distance between them, and it all looked very serious and solemn, basically. I thought that was it. It was the day of the signing of the divorce papers, and they were probably discussing post-separation division of territory and visitation rights. After that, Sylvester disappeared for a long time. So one night he came home looking all scruffy and he was extra affectionate. Now, this was unusual because he always seemed to like looking very dapper and smart, and also he was always a bit distant, so being super affectionate was kind of unusual for him. So we kind of wondered what was up, but I was kind of soaking it in and petting him and cuddling him and so on. So that night, he went off at night and I went to sleep, and unfortunately the next morning I found Sylvester dead on our porch. And I don't know what happened. Turns out it was not just the divorce he was battling, but perhaps also a terminal illness. Unfortunately, if he was home more often, or if I was home more often, and if I noticed any signs, I would have done something about it, of course. But it was too late and I couldn't save him, and he was just dead and we didn't know what happened to him. So sweet, gentle Sylvester was gone, and he was so special, that cat. When my brother had a kid, I suggested the name Sylvestra in honor of this handsome boy, and his namesake, my niece, was also a gorgeous, deep, quiet, mysterious ray of sunshine. So in the meanwhile, Mammy Cat carried on with pregnancy-related stuff like stealing very expensive fishes from our kitchen and smacking the dogs every once in a while, or lounging on the couch and getting pampered like she should have. I don't know if internally she was battling grief over her dead partner or the gripping fear of parenthood, but on the outside she seemed like she was having a really good life, lounging about and getting pets and cuddles all the time. So usually I would go to work at about 8 a.m. and then I had uni after work, so I'd only be back by about 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. and Mammy Cat was always there for me. She would be on the porch seeing me off in the morning, and at night she would be mysteriously in my room, on my bed, or in my cupboard lying on my clothes, and she was always this purry, loving, gentle sweetheart. So we were of course concerned that she would give birth eventually in our home or the compound, and there were lots of nooks and crannies that she could go and give birth in. So we were worried because for the first reason that we had dogs, and I don't know what the dogs would have done. It was a danger to her and her kittens. And the second reason was, well, I was broke and overwhelmed. I didn't have time for anything, and I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to give them the attention that they needed. So we decided to try and dissuade her from doing that. We started feeding her first outside of the home, and then outside of the compound, and then on the street. And after a while, she very intelligently got the message. She was like, okay, you know what, you want me gone, I'll go. And she disappeared for some time, and even though I was sad and I missed her all the time, I thought it was for the best. But then suddenly one day all of that changed. It was a dark and stormy night, like all of these stories begin, and I was dead asleep, consumed by exhaustion as usual. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, I could hear these soft sounds like meow, 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 and it was so soft and so shrill, and there were thunderclaps and there was lightning, and it was all coming from my cupboard. Well, not the thunderclap and lightning that was coming from outside, but the mews were coming from my cupboard, and I thought I had finally snapped. I had lost my one last remaining marble. So I somehow kind of dragged myself out of bed. I turned on the light and I looked in my cupboard, only to find this. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you'd like to, and if you're able to support us in creating more content, as well as taking care of our very sizable feline family, please consider donating to AlignLeft through Ko-fi. Link in the description. Thank you!